Hello, everyone, and welcome back to the Nintendo Campfire. I'm sorry it's been a while. I've been going through some different things, trying to get things together. I'll be uploading more regularly going forward, hopefully, but that's besides the point. It is the Nintendo Direct hype season again, and rumors are saying that it's coming soon. Hopefully, by the time that this video is uploaded, it'll have been officially announced, but the date that everyone is thinking, according to reliable leakers and rumors, is the 9th. So hopefully, June 9th, we'll be watching this direct. But today, we're going to be talking about predictions for that direct. And we've been waiting a while. We haven't had a Nintendo Direct at all yet this year. So this is the first big presentation the Switch 2 will have in that summer time slot. So usually in years past, we would have like the E3 presentation, which would be where all of the big gaming companies would hold their biggest event of the year. They would announce all the projects they have for the coming year and maybe even a couple years out. And Nintendo always had some of the best presentations there. So this is a super fun time for me. I'm really nostalgic for this time of year and I'm super excited to be talking about my predictions. So we're going to be going over some of the most credible leaks and rumors and incorporating that into this list. And I'll be introducing some of my own thoughts, predictions, and dreams as well. So this should be super fun, guys. Let's jump right into it. So before we get into that main meat of this video, talking about the predictions, let's talk about some of the news from the past few months and look at the rest of Nintendo's confirmed lineup. So we did see Tomodachi Life Living the Dream released in April. That game came out, received a ton of praise, lots of people liked it. Yoshi and the Mysterious Book is out now. That game received, I would say, more mixed reviews, but a lot of people praised the art style and the very open-ended and discovery-based gameplay loop. So a lot of people did like that game, but I would say definitely a bit more divisive. The Star Fox rumors were true. That game was revealed and is going to be released on the 25th of this month. That is super exciting. I was so happy to see that that was true. I think the game looks great, and I cannot wait to hear what people think about it when that game does come out very soon, this month. Rhythm Heaven Groove, that is the next game we have as of now, before the Direct, confirmed to be releasing this year. So that game is coming in July 2nd. I would say this game is in a state of needing more marketing. So when this Direct does happen, it's probably safe to assume that Rhythm Heaven Groove will get some sort of trailer or spotlight, and we'll probably also get some sort of Star Fox trailer as well. After Rhythm Heaven, we have Splatoon Raiders as the next up game with a confirmed release date. So that game will be coming July 23rd. I would also say that game is in a similar position to Rhythm Heaven, where marketing needs to ramp up for that. Other than that, the only other things we know about for Nintendo's future releases are that Fire Emblem is coming at some point this year, and Pokemon Winds and Waves are coming in 2027. Before we even get into the predictions, I'm just going to say I think Fire Emblem is a lock. We will hear about that. I'll touch on that when we jump into the actual predictions section. But Pokemon Winds and Waves, I don't think those are going to be in this presentation. They're just too far out, number one. And number two, Pokemon Company always likes to do their own presentations. They don't tend to include things in directs anymore, and when they do, it's usually something that's already been fully revealed and is closer to coming out. So Winds and Waves, I'm going to say, are not going to be featured in this upcoming Nintendo Direct. One more thing I want to cover quickly. We did also have Summer Games Fest. So that's Geoff Keighley's big event that he does in the summer. It's kind of like replacement for E3. I think it's Geoff Keighley. I don't know why I said Geoff, but controversial show. There's usually too many people complaining about too many ads, and it's similar to the Game Awards, which is also a Geoff Keighley thing. So there have been some big announcements from that this year. I would say it's been a better show than it has been in years past, so I'll cover those here because any of these games I'm talking about now could be in this direct, but they've already been announced, so I'll get them out of the way now. Call of Duty Modern Warfare 4, this wasn't part of Summer Games Fest, but it was announced like last week. That is coming this fall to Switch 2. Super exciting, big get. I'm super happy to see Call of Duty back on Nintendo platforms. Elden Ring, which was delayed from last year, has been confirmed to be coming out in August, so that's only a couple months away. Minecraft Dungeons 2 was officially revealed in Xbox's presentation for Summer Games Fest and was leaked a couple days ago. coming on Switch and Switch 2 in September, I believe. Monster Hunter Wilds was confirmed to be coming to Switch 2 kind of as part of Summer Games Fest, but it actually happened outside of the presentation. It was super weird. This is a poorly kept secret. I think there were some leaked updates and data mined controller settings for the Switch 2, so we kind of could have figured that was coming, but that was confirmed as well. And then Final Fantasy VII Remake Part 3 was confirmed to be coming to Switch 2 next year, I believe. So any of this stuff could be featured in the Direct, but those were already officially announced elsewhere. So if they are in the Direct, they'll just be getting the first mention in a Nintendo presentation, but it won't be the first time they were shown. All right, so moving on from things that were already talked about in other presentations. Let's go over the rumors and leaks. What can we expect to see in this Direct, going off of what credible people, i.e. Nate the Hate, have said. So if you don't know, Nate the Hate is probably the most reliable leaker in the industry. A lot of people don't put faith in what leakers say. Usually he's the exception. His info is pretty spot on, and even when he's off on something, it's usually because it's coming later on or plans have changed. His information is usually always accurate. He revealed the date that the Nintendo Switch 2 would officially be shown last year. He's also revealed a couple of other things like Star Fox, so his information is pretty spot on, and he's revealed a big game that should be shown in this Direct and should be the biggest game coming out this year for Nintendo on the Switch 2. We'll get into that later, but that is the Ocarina of Time remake, which I'm so excited about. All right, what else should we expect to see in this Direct based on what people have said? So we should be seeing this presentation on June 9th. Nate the Hate didn't give a specific date, but other people have, like Jeff Grubb. So it's safe to say that's probably a likely date. It's a Tuesday, which is usually one of the days Nintendo does like to hold these Directs on. Fire Emblem Fortune's Weave. That game we should see coming in this presentation without a doubt. It's one of the only other games Nintendo has already announced in the past, and it needs a date. This is the place to do it. That should be a lock. In Nate the Hate's podcast, as of recently, he has said that this should be getting a section in these upcoming Directs. But other than that, we should be expecting some sort of new Switch Sports. Nate the Hate mentioned that he's not exactly sure what form this will take. It could be a Nintendo Switch 2 edition, or maybe a sequel, but we should expect some sort of Nintendo Switch Sports-esque announcement. Other than that, he also mentioned some sort of Pikmin 4 announcement. This would be in the form of a Nintendo Switch 2 edition, or maybe some sort of Ultimate edition, but that's something we should expect. Of course, the big boy, the Ocarina of Time remake, which should be the big holiday game, should be a big deal. If you guys have listened to my other videos or podcasts, you know this is my favorite game of all time. I am frothing at the mouth to see this game. I cannot wait to see it. I think it's going to be beautiful. I can't wait to see the graphical style. I cannot wait to see how they present this masterpiece of a game with today's level of technology. Hopefully we see bigger cities, a bigger Hyrule Town. Hopefully we see a bigger Hyrule Castle. I want to see Castle Town in full glory. I want to see Lon Lon Ranch in full glory, but we should be expecting to see that. Multiple people have confirmed that, Nate the Hate being one of them. Now, a couple other things I'm going to mention. Nate the Hate did not directly mention this, but some other leakers have, like Nash Weedle, people like that. This is not on the same level as the other information, which does come from Nate the Hate, but this is out there, and I wanted to mention it in case it does get shown off in this Direct. Metroid 6, which is a 2D game, the sequel to Metroid Dread, which would be super exciting, or a Super Metroid remake, which some leakers have theorized will be a pixel remaster, maybe an HD 2D sort of thing, like Live Alive, or with some of the other games like The Adventures of Elliot. One of the Square Enix art styles, I think, is assumed to be the inspiration for this, if this is true. So those are out there. Those are rumors in the rumor mill. Wanted to cover them. They're not exactly as high caliber leaks or rumors as what comes from Nate the Hate, but I wanted to get it out there. Minecraft for Switch 2. This game was leaked via ratings board. So a rating was put out for an official Switch 2 version of Minecraft. Minecraft is playable on Switch 2, but it doesn't have its own version. Minecraft is on everything. This is a pretty safe bet. So those are the rumors or leaks. These are the things that we can reasonably expect to see in this Direct. Okay, guys, now it's time for my predictions. This is my own list. This is what I think we could see, and I'm going to put these in release order, so roughly the timeline I think they'll come out in. and probably the way they'll be presented in the Direct. So this should be in order, at least what I think. I could be off. Let's get into it. The first thing I'm going to predict that I think I could see happening in this summer Nintendo Direct is Mario Kart World's first DLC. Why do I think they're going to do this? Mario Kart World is now a year old, which is crazy. The Switch 2 itself is a year old. It's been an amazing year of gaming thanks to that. And I think that they wanted this game to be the big deal launch game. They wanted this to be the game that everyone sinks hours into. You can play competitively, you can play online, you can play in battle modes, or you can just roam around the world with your friends. I think you want to make that known. I think you want to keep this game up there. I think you want to keep this at people's mind. So you want to keep it fresh. And in order to do that, it needs some DLC. So I think we're going to see something that makes changes to Mario Kart World's world. Hopefully that includes other game modes. Maybe they add some new courses, some new costumes, of course. But I think the game needs some DLC. I think it needs the spotlight put back onto it because it's a fantastic game, but I think it kind of got away from us. It was a great game to launch the Switch 2. It makes good use of the multiplayer capabilities and game chat. I think it needs something now that we're a year out to keep us invested. And it could be, I said first DLC because I see this game being the sort of game that gets multiple over the Switch 2's life cycle. But that's my first prediction, Mario Kart World DLC. And I think that's the sort of thing they would use to open the Direct with. That could be the very first thing we see before we even see the host of the Direct. And it could be the sort of thing that is like available now. So I am excited for that, and I hope that's true. The next thing I see coming from this Nintendo Direct is another game that was already out from last year, Hyrule Warriors Age of Imprisonment. I think we'll see some DLC, and I think this is another thing we could see launching today. Every other Hyrule Warriors game from the past has gotten DLC. Obviously, Hyrule Warriors 1, which was on Wii U, 3DS, and eventually Switch, got DLC. We had like the Linkle expansion, the Wind Waker stuff, and then with Age of Calamity, a few months later after that game came out, we did get a DLC pass announced. Now, I think it makes sense that they do this again for Hyrule Warriors Age of Imprisonment, but other than that, I think that the game itself is ripe for it. Like, usually in these Warriors games, the villains are playable. If not in the base game, they get added in DLC. One of the biggest crimes that Age of Imprisonment committed was not letting us play as Ganondorf, and I think that would be like the sole focus of this DLC. I could see it focusing on Ganondorf and maybe the other bosses. I forget exactly what they're called. It's not like just Colgera and Marbled Goma. It's Ganondorfified versions of them. They're more humanized. So I could see Ganondorf himself and those versions of the bosses from Tears of the Kingdom being made playable in Hyrule Warriors Age of Imprisonment through DLC. And I think that's, again, the sort of thing they could have be made available as soon as the presentation is done. I know that Age of Imprisonment being a Warriors game, it makes sense to get DLC, but it is the Warriors game based off of Tears of the Kingdom, which famously did not get DLC. The developers said it's not something they want to do. Hopefully they don't carry that same sentiment for the Warriors game based on Tears of the Kingdom. I think this game needs DLC. I had a great time with it, but I definitely feel like something is missing. I love Warriors games. Zelda's my favorite series of all time, so I would never say no to it, but I think Age of Imprisonment needs DLC. We need more time with the characters they introduced in that game, and we need Ganondorf to be playable. Why give us an amazing Ganondorf design when we cannot play as him? So I think that's something they'll do. Another thing I could see them doing is making Link playable. Now that the story has been told, everyone's played the game, it's in the past, Link shouldn't be there. Maybe through some DLC shenanigans we can play as Link. It is weird having a Hyrule Warriors game without Link. I could see that being something they do in DLC. It could be outside of the canon. I think another thing they could do is give Zelda a new weapon type, which makes her able to use the abilities of the Light Dragon. At the end of Age of Imprisonment, we didn't really get to see much of that. Just like one quick shot of her as the Light Dragon moving through the sky. I think that's a huge missed opportunity. There should be a form of Zelda where she's playable and like her ultimate move is Light Dragon, and it just causes total destruction. I think that would be amazing. And again, that's something these Warriors games do. Usually with a DLC pass, characters from the base game get new weapons that give them new ultimate moves. So I think that would be great. I hope we see that. That is my second prediction. Moving on. This is something that kind of goes hand in hand with what people have rumored to be coming, but I do think Nintendo Switch Sports will be coming to Nintendo Switch 2. I'm also going to predict that this game, whatever form it may take, is going to come in July. It seems like the sort of game you'd want to have out in summer when kids are out of school, people are looking to get moving, something to do when you're not outside, you're in the AC, but you want to be active. I think Switch Sports is perfect for that. Um, this game is really fun on Switch 1. I have a lot of fond memories of playing this at like my birthday party in years past. I think that it captures that Wii Sports vibe very well, and I think that Nintendo would want to strike while the iron's hot with that, carry that momentum from Switch 1 forward into Switch 2. Now, I don't know if this will be a Switch 2 edition or a sequel. My hope would be that it's a sequel because I just prefer to have everything they had in Switch Sports 1, but kind of presented better. I feel like that's more likely to happen in a sequel rather than a Switch 2 edition. Those tend to be more of the same but better. I would be looking for what worked in the first game made better and put in a new world, new UI, new map with added sports. So that game did get updates in the past. Like I think they added basketball and baseball, but I think that you add all the games from the Switch 1 version, add a few new sports, and I think that could be a great system seller for the Switch 2. People love Switch Sports, kids will love it, parents will love it. It'll be a great summer game because everyone's outside in the summer, but in those days where maybe it's raining and you want to stay inside in the AC, you want to have something to keep people active. I think this will strike really well with the casual market, and it'd be something I'd be excited to see. And I would predict that that'll be coming in July, and that is my third prediction. Next up, again, something that we can reasonably assume will be in this direct, but I'm going to predict a date for its release. Fire Emblem Fortune's Weave. I think this game is ripe for an August release. So Fire Emblem in the past has come out in the summer. I know that Three Houses came out in July when that game came out in 2019. So I think they like having that game positioned in the summer. But since Splatoon Raiders is already coming in July and you don't want to kind of suffocate that game by having two heavy hitters in the same month, I think you put it in August. So you still get to claim some of that summer energy and release. People are still more free, able to sink in more hours into a longer game, which Fire Emblem games are long, tactical JRPGs. And I think that this game is going to really resonate with core gamer audiences, which is another market you want to hit. You've kind of got the casual thing from Switch Sports. You want to grab those people that like these tactical RPGs. I'm one of them. I love the Fire Emblem games. I love what they did with Three Houses. And Fire Emblem Fortune's Weave was announced last year, but it's still kind of a mystery. We don't know much about the story. Visually, it looks beautiful. It's got that anime art style we saw in the first trailer, and it looks to have some correlation to Three Houses, which that is a smart choice because that's like the best-selling Fire Emblem game, was the most popular, and I want to see what they're doing with this game. My hope for it is that it comes out in August, and I want them to kind of abandon the three separate storylines thing. I thought it was cool for Three Houses, but it is kind of exhausting knowing you're playing through a very long game and you're missing out on certain story beats because you had to choose one of three paths. It's great for replayability, but if you don't have the time to sink three playthroughs into one very long game where you love the characters and really want to, it does suck to miss out on that. So my hope this time is that they really form one good story, which Fire Emblem is known for doing. They're fantastic games, and I'm going to predict that Fortune's Weave is coming out in August, and we'll see that announced in probably a big overview trailer that'll take up about 5 minutes, because this game needs some time in the spotlight. So my next prediction is another game I see releasing in August, and that is going to be Xenoblade Chronicles. This is also kind of mentioned. There have been some rumors, but this is something I'm really coming up with myself. I don't know what form this is going to take, but I'm predicting that either Xenoblade Chronicles 1, 2, or 3 will get updated to get a Nintendo Switch 2 edition, and I think it'll come out in August. Switch 2 editions tend to come out in the same month where there was already a main game releasing, so we could have like Fire Emblem and a Xenoblade update for the Switch 2. I don't know which game they'll do first, maybe they'll do all three, but these games are all ripe for Switch 2 editions. The worlds are so beautiful, so expansive already. They would really be great to showcase the power of the Switch 2. And I think we could see some really big improvements in terms of load times, pop-in. I think that these games would just look beautiful in 4K. We're running in 1080p in handheld, so I think that's something that we'll see. I know that we did get Xenoblade Chronicles X Switch 2 edition in February or March of this year. So I think that they might want to kind of get on the numbered Xenoblade games and get those updated and, really prime for Switch 2. And I think that something else we could see in this Nintendo Direct is the announcement of a new Xenoblade game, whether that be Xenoblade 4 or something totally different, kind of like they did with Xenoblade Chronicles X. Something Xenoblade is getting announced in this presentation. I think it's time. I think we need to see what Monolith Soft is up to. Again, whether that be a Switch 2 edition for one of the past Xenoblade games or something new. I think that'll be here in this presentation, and whatever it is, I think it's coming out in August. Because it's so close to the time they're doing this presentation in June, I lean more towards the Switch 2 edition. But I could also see a new game being announced, or maybe they'll announce a Switch 2 edition and a new game for a couple years or a year out. Who knows? So that's my prediction there. Next up, I think we do see something Metroid coming in September. Now, I think they're going to do this because they want to build Metroid up. We've kind of seen them do this with Metroid Prime Remastered, Metroid Prime 4 as well, which was a game that had mixed reception but was super hyped, super sought after from fans for a long time. And Metroid notoriously doesn't sell well, but I think Nintendo is working on that. The games are fantastic. They play so well. Metroid Dread was amazing. There were some great things in Prime 4. I definitely have my gripes with it, but I think they're really trying to build up the world of Metroid and Samus's character. And the best way to do that is to keep bringing people opportunities to get to know the world and the characters. So again, people have rumored that there could be some sort of Metroid 6, another 2D game coming. It has been like 5 years since Dread, so that does kind of check. And there's that rumored Super Metroid, maybe 2D pixel remake. Either way, I think a Metroid game is coming this year. I think it'll fit in September. That's my prediction. And I also want to do, moving forward with my predictions here, anytime I think a game is going to come to Switch 1 and Switch 2, I'll make that known just as an added prediction. I do think that you want to bring any Metroid games for now, especially if they're 2D, to Switch 1 as well as Switch 2, just to expose it to the largest audience possible. So I'm going to predict that there will be a Metroid game announced in this presentation, and it will also be a Switch 1 and Switch 2 game. Okay, moving on from that, which would be something I'm super excited for, by the way. I loved Metroid Dread. Our next game is a Kirby game. Now, a few years ago, we did have Nate the Hate predicts that Kirby Planet Robobot would be coming to the Switch. This might have actually just been last year or at the end of 2024, but we haven't seen that game yet. Obviously, we had Kirby Air Riders, which was a fantastic game, announced last year to come out in November, and that was the spotlight, so it didn't seem like it'd be time to announce Kirby Planet Robobot anytime soon. It seemed like maybe that was on the back burner. I could easily see that being announced now. This is another game I think that if it is Kirby Planet Robobot, it'll be coming to the Switch 1 as well as Switch 2. Probably with some enhancements on Switch 2. But I also think it's a possibility that we just see a new Kirby game coming. And if they do a new one, they might want to try to push this is a Switch 2 game. So in any case, my prediction is that a Kirby game will be announced in this presentation. Again, if it's like a remake or re-release of Planet Robobot, I think it will come to Switch 1 and Switch 2. But in general, if it's a Switch 2 Kirby game, new story, new world, maybe some sort of sequel to the Forgotten Land, that's a Switch 2 only thing. That's my prediction. Baseline, I think we'll see something Kirby announced. Alright, next up, Orbitals, I'm going to predict is coming end of summer. That's a game that is a big deal. Nintendo has previously pushed this game in directs because it is a third party, I don't know if it's indie necessarily, but it's a third party game that is fully taking advantage of the Switch 2. I think it's a Switch 2 exclusive, at least for now. It's a multiplayer game, kind of in the same light as something like It Takes Two or Split Fiction. So that's an audience you really want to have engaged on your new console. And this game just looks so charming. It kind of has like an 80s, 90s anime aesthetic, and it looks really funny. The voice acting sounds great. It looks witty. It looks charming. I think this is a game you really want to push out, and it's kind of gone radio silent, so I'm thinking it's not ready to be the sort of thing that they're like available today, but I do think they want to have it out in the summer. And since we already have predicted other things to be coming out earlier on in the summer, I'm gonna assume Orbitals comes out maybe in August or September, so just sometime in the end of summer. That's my prediction there. I'm really excited for that game. I can't wait to see more of it. It really looks fantastic. If you haven't heard of it, go check out the trailer. On that note, I'm mostly just predicting first party Nintendo games because that's kind of the only thing I know enough about to make predictions on, but I'll throw in a few third party predictions as well throughout this list. At least the bigger ones that I can reasonably assign a release date to or whatever. But moving on from that, like what was rumored, I do think we'll see Pikmin 4 Nintendo Switch 2 Edition announced, and I think that'll be one of the Nintendo games coming in September. I think that this is going to be a great opportunity to showcase Pikmin, which Pikmin 4 already looked fantastic on Switch 1. I mean, the detail on that fruit, they were already putting out insanely detailed fruit and environments in Pikmin 3 on the Wii U. It got even better. Pikmin 4 is a beautiful game. I think that you want to kind of strike while the iron's hot before people forget about Pikmin for a little while. It's one of Miyamoto's favorite series. You want to introduce that to the people on Switch 2. Do that through a Switch 2 edition. Make Pikmin 4 even more beautiful. Put it in 4K. Maybe add some new levels. I know the Dandori battle in Pikmin 4 is not as highly praised as it was in Pikmin 3, so maybe they introduce some sort of new multiplayer component. In any case, that game is like the perfect candidate for mouse controls. I know Pikmin 4 did get a random update for Switch 2. I can't remember if that added mouse controls, but it was like a random small content update, but I don't think they're done with that. I think they want to eventually have more Pikmin games, and to prime us for that, bring us Pikmin 4 Switch 2 Edition. I can see that happening. I'd be excited for it. Cannot wait to see that world in 4K Switch 2 graphics. So, yeah, I think that'll be coming, and I feel like that fits well for the end of September. So that's my prediction there. Another third-party prediction I have, which takes us into October. Duskbloods, which is the big From Software game, which was announced in the April 2nd, 2025 Switch 2 showcase where they announced all the games for the first year. This is like the big third-party game we have right now, which is a Switch 2 exclusive. It's a big get. People love FromSoft games. I think that this game is coming out in October. It has that vampire Halloween-y vibe. It looks great. It looks to have like a big sprawling world, and I think it'll be a big technical showcase for Switch 2. And I think that since it was announced last year, the timing is right. You need to reintroduce this game and get it ready to launch, and I think the best time for that is October, so that's my prediction there. Now, from Nintendo themselves, and not a third party for October. This is one of my bigger predictions, but I could reasonably see it happening. The reason why, and we'll touch on this later, I don't think 3D Mario is ready for this year. A lot of people have been thinking that. Nate the Hate said 3D Mario needs more time in the oven. Plans have changed. Maybe at one point it was supposed to be the big game for 2026. I don't think it is, or you would have heard about it by now. I think instead, our Mario game for 2026 is going to be Luigi's Mansion 4. Luigi's Mansion is a beloved series. Starting back in the GameCube, we had Luigi's Mansion 2 on the 3DS, sorry. That game was fantastic. We actually saw that game come to Switch in 2024, and that was Luigi's Mansion 2 HD. Now we had Luigi's Mansion 3 in 2019, which was a big graphical showcase game for the Switch. People love that game. It brought a co-op element with Gooigi. The game is fantastic, absolutely beautiful, and it's been 7 years now since that game came out, which is nuts. That's insane. Time is flying by. That game was too good for them to just stop there. I don't think they're going to stop with Luigi's Mansion or jump ship and develop something else. I believe it's Next Level Games that developed that. So I think they've had a long time to bring Luigi's Mansion forward, to cook that game, to get it ready, and I think the time is now. Mario isn't ready quite yet, I don't think. So I think that in 2026 you want to have something of that same caliber, and I think Luigi's Mansion 4 is that game. I think it's going to be beautiful. I'd be really excited to see it. I hope they continue adding like a multiplayer component to it, whether it be another Scarescraper, which is fantastic for online, or make it co-op, make it use mouse mode somehow. I think we see Luigi's Mansion series continue to grow in 4, and I think this will be the big game for October. Okay, now into the real meat and potatoes. What I am most excited for, as a lifelong Zelda fan, Ocarina of Time is my favorite game. I predict that The Legend of Zelda Ocarina of Time remake will be coming in November. That's usually the release time for Nintendo's biggest holiday game. And I think this is going to kickstart the discussion for Nintendo, at least, of Zelda's 40th anniversary. I think they've been waiting until this June Direct, waiting to reveal the Ocarina of Time remake to really give us what we've been waiting for and really give this amazing series the praise it deserves and let people start celebrating, let people start, getting some cool merch and artwork. And I think this is going to be a huge blowout. I don't think this is going to be how they're going to end the presentation, but I could see it coming somewhere in the middle to keep us engaged because this is the big announcement. I think it's going to be absolutely gorgeous. We're going to either hear the ocarina or we're going to hear the Hyrule Field theme or maybe the Sunrise theme, but we're going to hear something and we're going to immediately know this is Ocarina of Time. And we're going to see Link, we're going to see Epona, we're going to see Zelda, Ganondorf. We're going to see them in the most beautiful way we ever have before. I know that this is just a rumor or a leak right now, depending on how you want to look at it, but I do think where there's smoke, there's fire, and there's so much smoke, and it's time we see this game, and I think I'm really excited for it. Some people are worried they won't be able to keep the integrity of the original release. Maybe they'll change it too much, but I don't think so. Nintendo is very good about holding their series in high regard. They don't really let people mess with them. They themselves are too afraid to make too many changes. So I think they'll really handle this with care and respect. And I think we're going to see one of the best games of all time just in the most beautiful package. I think they can expand the world, they can make Hyrule Field more full, make it feel bigger. I think that they can add maybe more side quests, they can give characters more dialogue, they could add voice acting. That's kind of controversial, but I think it would be the right thing to do. They could do it like Breath of the Wild and Tears of the Kingdom, where Link doesn't talk to kind of stay true to Ocarina of Time's original energy, but I think they have a real good opportunity here to make things like Castletown bigger and more full. I mean, this game was the benchmark for 3D games when it first came out. It really laid the groundwork for every other big 3D adventure game that came after it. And I think that Nintendo knows that and they want to handle this with care and respect, like I said. And I just think that this is the biggest thing they're going to announce in this direct. And I cannot wait to see. I am so excited for this game to come out. And I think there's nowhere else you can put this game than in November in that big slot. So that's my prediction. That's going to be their biggest release for this year. But on that note, I think that they'll want to continue the momentum in Zelda's 40th anniversary and they'll announce that Nintendo Switch Online GameCube is going to add Twilight Princess, and that's going to be added to celebrate Zelda's 40th anniversary in 2026. So I think that the GameCube games are definitely the most excited. People get the most excited for them out of any other console. And I think that we're running low on the initial wave of GameCube games that was announced April of last year. So I think they're going to add Twilight Princess, and then they're going to have a little segment where they show 8 to 10 games that they plan on adding for the next year. I think that this is going to serve this section in this direct to lay out the groundwork for Nintendo Switch Online GameCube updates for the next year. And I think that starts with Twilight Princess. People might think, too good to be true. They'd rather sell that, but they added Wind Waker. And I think it's the 40th anniversary. We're not going to get Ocarina of Time remake until later on in the year. So I think you need to give people something now so they don't think you're totally ignoring one of the biggest anniversaries for one of your biggest series. So I think to add Twilight Princess, I'd be totally excited for that. That is actually a blind spot in my Zelda knowledge. That's the only Zelda game I've barely played. It's my girlfriend's favorite. I've seen her play it a few times, but I've been waiting to be able to play it on my Switch too. That's going to be the place I want to play it. We have other means to play it, but I've been waiting, so I'd be really excited for this, and I hope this is something that they do indeed do. Okay, now we're getting into a little bit of my crazy oddball predictions here, but one of the things I think Nintendo will do is kind of try to rekindle the fire for game chat. I think that this is one of the big features of the Switch 2, and I think Nintendo is going to acknowledge people haven't really been using it enough. It actually works great. It is a little easier to use than Discord, depending on your situation, because you don't need another device to do it. You can still hear your game audio and voice chat with your friends, so it works well. You can screen share, And it was revealed in the Star Fox Direct that you'll be able to use Star Fox avatars during game chat. So you can basically do this like a VTuber-esque thing with the Star Fox characters and make it look like you are Fox or Slippy or Peppy and you're speaking and your little game chat window reflects that. I don't think this is going to be a Star Fox only thing. I could see Nintendo making some game chat update, not just for Star Fox, but maybe they'll add other characters you can use as avatars. Maybe they'll add game chat themes. So, like when you screen share or when you open the game chat menu, there's a theme to the back of it. Um, on this note, I think they could also maybe add Switch menu themes. This is something that, it's kind of a meme at this point. They never came to Switch 1. It's something everyone wanted. It was free money for Nintendo, and it never happened. But I think that with Nintendo trying to push this social feature, Game Chat allows you to share your screen. Maybe they'll want you to be able to show off your personality to your friends with Game Chat, and part of doing that could be letting you change the Switch menu themes. If this is something that gets announced, I could see this being the sort of thing that they're like, oh, also available now. They could have like a Tears of the Kingdom one, Mario Odyssey, Kirby Air Riders. I think that all the big main Nintendo tentpoles will get a theme if this is something that happens. Probably a little more out there than the rest of my predictions. Probably something that might never happen. It just seems like something they don't want to do. But I definitely could at least see them trying to push game chat one more time, give it a really big boost, add some sort of new game chat based feature. All right. And as my final Nintendo prediction, I'll have a couple more third party things to talk about. I know I said I don't think Mario is ready for this year, but I think that's a big game, 3D Mario. I think you want to give that time to cook, time to build anticipation and excitement. So I do think the one more thing announcement for this direct is going to be that a brand new 3D Mario is in development. I don't know if we'll get a title, but I think they'll show a trailer and they'll say, that's right, a new 3D Mario is on its way to the Switch 2, coming 2027. That's what I think they'll end this presentation on. Maybe not, though, because some people will say Nintendo plays things close to their chest. They don't like announcing things that far out anymore, which is true, but I think that Nintendo knows that 3D Mario is something they would have probably liked to have out this year. It doesn't seem like that's happening, so I think they'll feel comfortable enough saying it's coming in 2027, and they'll know that at most this game is like going to get a small delay. It's not going to get delayed out of the year. I think that you want people to know it's coming, and I think that with this being the first Switch 2 Summer Direct, you want to get that out of the gate now. You want to let people know the game you've been waiting for is coming. So that is what I see being their one more thing announcement. Those are all my predictions in order. So to go over them, apart from a couple other things which I'll talk about in the end, this is the way they'll be shown in the direct and release order. Mario Kart World's first DLC, Hyrule Warriors Age of Imprisonment DLC, a Nintendo Switch Sports Switch 2 Edition or sequel, Fire Emblem Fortune's Weave, Xenoblade Chronicles Switch 2 Edition or new game announcement, Metroid game coming in September, Kirby Planet Robobot or other Kirby game, Orbitals coming end of summer, Pikmin 4 Nintendo Switch 2 Edition coming September, Dusk Bloods coming October, Luigi's Mansion 4 coming in October, and The Legend of Zelda Ocarina of Time remake coming in November, a new GameCube NSO Online update adding Twilight Princess and laying out the future for Switch Online GameCube releases, and then some sort of game chat update inspired by Star Fox's avatars or something related to themes. And then the brand new 3D Mario is the last announcement, the one more thing coming in 2027, but it gets its first trailer here. That is my main predictions. I have a couple other things. These are some random third-party games I could see making an appearance. I don't know where they'll put them because these don't really need to be in any specific order for the presentation, but I do think we could see Death Stranding get announced. That's a big third-party game. Nate the Hate has mentioned this coming to Switch 2 in the past, and it's on, I think it's on, Apple TV or something, so it's on everything. It's a big game. People love it. I think it's only a matter of time before it comes to Switch 2, so I could see this being announced here. On that same note, I do think Baldur's Gate 3 will eventually come to Switch 2. This was a huge game that came out in 2023, one game of the year. It's a big get for Nintendo and Larian. I think that this game is just bound for a Switch 2 port eventually. If they've been working on it for a while, it could be ready now, or they could announce it in this presentation for the future. Baldur's Gate 3 is something a lot of people will get excited about. It really it was a really big deal, and I think that Nintendo's going to want to get that, and Larian is going to want to get that introduced to a new audience on Switch too. Another one that's kind of out there, I think that there could be a new Ace Attorney game announced. Capcom and Nintendo, they're big friends. The timing feels right. Ace Attorney is kind of always known for being on Nintendo platforms, and I think if they're going to announce a new Ace Attorney game, it'd be here. I think that you'd want to do it here. Could happen sometime during Summer Games Fest, but I think that a Nintendo Direct would be the place. So those are 3 random third-party predictions I have. And that's really it for my predictions, guys. My overall take is that Nintendo wants to use this Direct to line up almost the whole rest of this year, 2026, but I could obviously be wrong in that thinking. Again, people have shown, people have been saying, and Nintendo has shown, they like to play their cards close to their chest. I mean, look at Star Fox. That game was announced in May and is coming out in June. They gave that game a month and some change of breathing room. This strategy helps them not have to deal with having delays announced so often, and it stops people from saying, oh, it's been 2 years since we heard about Tears of the Kingdom. When are we going to see it again? So I think they like to keep things closer to the chest, but I think that this is the Switch 2's first Direct in like 9 months and their first Summer Direct. I think that you need to show people that you're confident. Lay out the rest of 2026. Maybe even some 2027 stuff, and then kind of tee up the eventual September Direct that will probably happen. But this presentation is really important. It's been a long time since our last Direct. I think they're going to use this to fully lay out the rest of the year. I don't think there's much point in waiting all the way till September now. I mean, you've already stalled for as long as you can. That's my take. Let me know what you guys think. Overall, I miss E3, but this predictions thing is like my way of coming back to that. This time of year is still exciting. I love that Nintendo usually still does a Direct this time of year, so I'm super hyped. Please let me know, what do you guys think of my predictions? What games do you think are coming that I didn't mention? Do you think I'm totally crazy? Let me know in the comments. Other than that, guys, I'll quickly talk about what I've been playing, because that's usually something I do in my podcast, but I haven't had a new episode in a while. So I've been playing the Mario Kart World Tournament a little bit. I wanted to kind of get some more time in that, especially if they might be announcing some DLC soon. But all in all, it's a fantastic game. I love it. I wanted to try to really devote myself to this tournament, see if I could do well in it, but I just haven't had the time to do that. I've only really played once, but I'll play more before it's over. I had like a week to get in there. So other than that, I've been playing Mario and Luigi Brothership through the Nintendo Switch 2 boost mode for Switch 1 games. So when you're playing your backwards compatible Switch 1 games, they just look like they would have if they were docked on Switch 2, which is an awesome feature. I love the Mario and Luigi games. Brothership definitely has like pacing issues for sure, but the end of this game, and I kind of never got around to finishing this game. It got lost in the wind. I love these games. I played it till kind of near the end, maybe the halfway point, and I just for some reason got back into it now, but the final act of this game is really incredible, and it kind of makes up for all those pacing issues. Like, the story's pretty good. This feels like the quirky, funny characters and story that I loved about games like Mario and Luigi, Bowser's Inside Story. So I've been playing that, and I'm also working my way through the Pokopia post game. I'm kind of finding it a little stressful now. Like, I've beaten the story, I have all the transformation abilities, but I feel like lost in building now, because I'm kind of trying to build up my town, and I really needed to start with like a storage room first, so I had somewhere to organize and keep all of the items I've collected. Thankfully, once you get to like the end of the game story, you have a ton of inventory storage, but I started building this giant building. I plan to just put a ton of chests in, and I was like, wow, I keep having to go back and forth to craft more wood. This building needs to be huge, and I don't know if it's something I want to do right now. So I took a break from that, but I'm gonna get back into it. I have a lot of plans, and seeing everyone else's crazy Pokopia city builds has really made me want to get into that myself. But that's what I've been playing. Just wanted to get that out there real quick because it's been a while since I made a video. Look forward to more videos coming from me soon. I'll kind of be trying to change my style, but let me know, what have you guys been playing? Put it in the comments. We can have a little chat about that. Um, I'll put my friend code up now, guys. let's have a game night sometime. We can host something. Maybe I can even start streaming again, especially if some of these things we're predicting to be announced do get announced. And the last thing I want to talk to you guys about, I made this, which I'll put on screen right now, which is my Nintendo Direct predictions card. It's a bingo card. People used to do this a lot years ago. Shout out to the creator. I'll have that there on the card. Go check it out. And make your own. Make your own predictions. Put them on a bingo card and see if you get a bingo when this direct does happen. It's a really fun thing to do. It kind of helps capture that E3 spirit. You can see all of my predictions are kind of up there. We'll see if I get a bingo. I'll let you guys know on Twitter or Blue Sky or something. But yeah, it's something I highly suggest you guys do. Go look up Nintendo Direct Bingo and then put the creator's name, which again will be on screen there, and you can make your own. Thank you guys for joining me. I look forward to talking about everything that gets announced soon, and I hope you guys have a great day. Take care and bye bye.